Okay, well, it looks like I'm going to have a part of this because I couldn't continue on to the other video, which was kind of weird, and I'm not going to sit and try to figure it out. So, okay, so I disconnected this wire up here. It went from, let's see here, went from right here. I clipped it over to the speaker terminal. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect a wire from the speaker terminal. I'm going to run it underneath this resistor. There's a hollow spot up under here, and I'm going to run it straight over to that right here. And this is where our 0.5 cap will go, and I'll show you how I'm going to wire that. Okay, so now we got it wired up. So I just haven't clipped any of the leads. So like I say, I got this from speaker wires coming over here to the second part of this terminal. This is where I soldered it in, and then I just put this clipper out or lead around there so I could just hold it on there for a minute. I'll clip that off. Okay, so that's how I did that. Okay, so second, what I'm going to do is let me get my schematic out here, kind of show you. Okay, so right here, between those 0.5 cap on this lead right here, which is this one, okay, this orange wire, we're going to leave that there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tap off of this, and I'm going to take another wire and run up underneath, and I'm going to go to this second connector right here, okay, on this terminal strip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to add another wire and run it over. So kind of like what I did here, it got clipped by accident, so I had to reconnect it here. And then I don't know if you can see up underneath there. There's not a lot of light. There's a wire that runs up underneath there, and then it connects over here on this one right there, right here. So so what I'm doing is I'm actually going to two terminals instead of the third one, but they're still wired up the same. Okay, so we got that in. So let me show you what I did. So right here where this orange wire is, I don't know if I can kind of see, it's kind of bad here. Anyway, so that orange wire that's on the back connector, okay, so that's part of the inductor right there. So let's see if I can point right here on the very back one, because there's one in front of it right here. There's one in front, one behind, so we're just going to say is the back one. So I cut that, or so I tapped onto that, ran it up underneath the resistor, this big old wire wound block resistor, and then come over and to the second terminal, or the third one in. I'm not using this one, so I'm just going to go these two instead of skipping one last time like I did on this one. So on this one, what I want to do is I'm just going to use these two. So I'm going to go ahead and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to install a capacitor right here, and it's going to be a 0.5. So that'll go from the speaker lead through here, back over, around, and back into the inductor. Okay, so got the capacitor in. So I always mark my capacitors with a Sharpie. That's a 0.47 because they put a code on them, and it's just easier for me to remember what it is. So I got that wired in. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'll clip off these terminal leads right here, and so that's just this part right here. So and then what we're going to do is we're going to keep moving on, and then we'll keep connecting up stuff. Now one thing that I'm going to just mention right now, because we're going to get into it, is on the filter capacitors, the little schematic here is calling for a so right here, so you get a 1 microfarad and a 1 microfarad, and then they tie together right here. That's your ground or your negative. Okay, there's a couple of ways you can do this, or a couple of ways I do this. Is these are 1 microfarad caps. They're film capacitors. These have no polarity on them, and in this type of set, it's not really. You don't need a polarity. On this other set that I did use electrolytics, and you can use electrolytics. These ones I used 0.47 UF at 450 volts. Those work just fine too, but however, if you do use those, remember that these are polarity. So what you're going to do, or what I did on these ones, as the middle, this one right here, that's my ground, or my negative, however you want to call it. and that's my ground, and then you've got positive and positive. Okay, so these ones, again, if you use electrolytics, you do just got to make sure that you're connecting the right way. On these other caps, you don't need to worry about that so much. I'm going to use these this time, and I'm going to connect them up a little bit different way, but it's basically the same thing, and I'll show the difference. Okay, so the next wire, what I'm going to do is going to be right here. Let's see here. And it's this wire right here, okay? It's the furthest one in, so on your schematic, it's this one right here, okay? So that's the one I'm going to work on, and then I will show you how I'm going to wire this up. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just tap in off this wire right here over to the resistor, and I'm going to take another wire and I'm going to come around and I'm going to connect it right here. Okay, and that is going to go to a positive side of the capacitor or your electrolytic, or however you're going to do this. So basically what happens is these go, and this connects into your speaker. There's your 5 microfarad, and it comes up, goes through your inductor and over. Well, this point right here, being that it's off this one, this needs to or I'm sorry, this comes over and goes up to the resistor. So right here, so it comes up, comes off the resistor, and this one needs to cross over and go over to here. Okay, so right before I do this, one thing I want to note is I believe this is from the factory. These right here are your power cord coming in. And they got electrical tape on them, and I thought maybe somebody had been in here and did that before. But then when I got this other Brunswick, same thing. But this one has an extra power cord that goes up and feeds the speaker, because this is off a it's not the table model. This Brunswick's actually a console model, which is, it's basically the same thing. This one's actually a 5KR6 that this goes into. Now keep in mind that these Brunswick 5KRs are the same thing as a Radiola 18. They're the same exact thing. They're just in a different box, different package, everything else electrically the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to disconnect this mess, and so I can get underneath here and clean this up and then tap off of that to come over, because that's how your capacitors run, as you go positive, negative, positive. And this one, this positive's got to run over and connect over here. So I'm going to take this off, clean this up, get underneath here, attach a wire, and pull it over here. Okay, so I'm halfway through this, and this black wire that comes from right here over to the resistor port kind of just got, I don't know, it's not in bad shape, but it just kind of started to fray back a little bit more. So I'm going to go ahead and replace that wire. Just like I did on this set. I was hoping to have to keep it there, but I'm just going to go ahead and replace it. And then I disconnected everything off that terminal. I'll go ahead and check a few things while I'm doing that, and then I'll reconnect everything up. Okay, so that took a second. So I went ahead and got these all connected up right here. So this one's coming over to the resistor. It's coming off the resistor and then over here. And then this wire that's connected into it is in the can that's called a filter reactor. So I'm going to guess it's a choke or something. So anyways, so over here. So we'll go ahead and clip that out of there. All right, so now we'll start. I'm going to do this one, I think, a little different. So I think I'm going to put, so on this one I had my negative, which is off the electrolytics right here. Instead, I'm just going to hook the 2 positives up and then run my lead out with some shrink tube up to the negatives. So, or your ground. So these 2 wires right here in the middle are your ground. And I'll end up cutting those off, and we'll go from there. So what I'm going to do right now is, so these 2 wires that come off of this filter reactor, I'm going to unsolder these from, or cut them, depending on how well I can get to them, from this first terminal that's in here that you can't see now. So it's not this orange one, but it's these 2 ones that go, over to this side, so up underneath here, okay? We're going to take those off. We're going to route them under here, and then they're going to go over here as well. So, all right.